when a single mother gave her last $5 to a homeless man outside a grocery store. She never imagined she'd see him again. But 24 hours later, that same man stepped out of a black limousine wearing a $1,000 suit. What happened next changed both their lives forever. Picture this. It's a cold Tuesday evening in downtown Portland. Nia Rodriguez clutches her grocery receipt, staring at the final total that just wiped out her checking account. Behind her, 3-year-old Zara tugs at her worn jacket, asking why they can't buy the colorful cereal she saw on aisle 5. Nia's heart breaks a little more. She's been breaking her own heart for months now, choosing between electricity bills and decent meals, between gas money and Zara's medicine. Tonight, she chose groceries over everything else. As they walk toward their beat-up Honda, Nia spots him. A man sits against the brick wall of the store, cardboard sign in his lap, baseball cap pulled low over weathered features. His clothes are dirty, his shoes have holes, and there's something in his eyes that looks familiar. Not his face, she's never seen him before. But that look, that quiet desperation she recognizes from her own mirror. "Mommy, why is that man sitting on the ground?" Zara whispers. Nia's throat tightens. How do you explain homelessness to a toddler when you're 3 months behind on rent yourself? But then something happens that surprises everyone, including Nia herself. She reaches into her purse and pulls out her last $5 bill, the one she was saving for gas to get to her night shift at the diner. The one that means she'll have to walk 4 miles in the cold tonight, but maybe, just maybe, this stranger needs it more than she does. "Here," she says, pressing the crumpled bill into his palm. "I know it's not much, but—" The man looks up, and for just a second, their eyes meet. There's something strange in his gaze. Something that doesn't quite fit with the torn jacket and cardboard sign. But before Nia can figure out what it is, he's looking down again. "Thank you," he whispers, and his voice, it's educated. Refined even. "You have no idea what this means." Nia nods and walks away, Zara's small hand in hers, never looking back. She should have looked back. The next morning, Nia is running late for her second job, cleaning offices downtown, when she sees the limousine. Sleek, black, and completely out of place in her neighborhood of cracked sidewalks and chain-link fences. But it's not the car that stops her cold. It's the man stepping out of it. Same face. Same weathered hands. Same eyes that held secrets she couldn't name. But now he's wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably costs more than she makes in 6 months. His hair is clean styled. His shoes shine like mirrors. This isn't possible. The homeless man from last night is clearly a millionaire. But here's what Nia doesn't know yet. What nobody in that small Oregon town knows. This isn't just any wealthy man playing dress-up. This is Marcus Chin, founder of Chin Industries, worth $2.3 billion according to Forbes. And he's been living on the streets of Portland for 3 months, not because he has to, because he wants to. What would drive a billionaire to give up his penthouse for a cardboard box? What kind of pain makes a man with unlimited resources choose to have nothing? And why, after months of refusing help from everyone, did $5 from a struggling single mother change everything? 6 hours before that life-changing encounter, Nia's alarm screams at 4:47 a.m. She doesn't need it. She's been awake since 3:15, staring at the water stain on her ceiling and running calculations in her head. Rent, $1,200, due yesterday. Electricity, $340, past due. Groceries, maybe $80 if she's careful. Gas, $50 to last the week. Zara's daycare, $600, and they've already warned her about late payments. Total needed, $2,270. Total in checking account, $127. The math never works. It hasn't worked for 8 months, not since Zara's father decided being a dad was too much pressure and disappeared with her college fund. Nia rolls out of her thrift store mattress and tiptoes to the kitchenette. Their apartment is 520 square feet of peeling paint and broken dreams, but it's theirs. For now. She makes coffee with yesterday's grounds, waste not, want not, and allows herself exactly 4 minutes of silence before the day begins. In these 4 minutes, she pretends she's not scared. Pretends her daughter won't grow up the way she did, bouncing between relatives who saw her as a burden. But fear creeps in anyway. It always does. Mommy. Zara's voice drifts from their shared bedroom. Can we have pancakes? Nia's chest tightens. Pancakes require milk, eggs, flour, luxuries they can't afford this week. How about cereal, baby? We don't have cereal. Right. They finished the store-brand cornflakes yesterday. Toast then. With jelly. There's no jelly either, but maybe Zara won't notice. 30 minutes later, Nia is rushing through their morning routine, brushing Zara's dark curls, finding clean clothes in their laundry pile, packing a lunch that's mostly crackers and hope. Why do you look sad, Mommy? Zara asks, those big brown eyes seeing too much. Children shouldn't have to worry about their parents' sadness. Children should wake up expecting pancakes and getting them. They should ask for toys without their mothers' faces crumbling with guilt. I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking. About what? About how your shoes are getting too small and I can't afford new ones. About how Mrs. Patterson at daycare keeps giving me those looks, like she knows exactly how far behind we are on payments. About how I work 16-hour days and still can't give you the life you deserve. About how much I love you, Nia says instead. And it's true. God, it's the truest thing in her world. The walk to Sunshine Daycare takes 12 minutes. 12 minutes of Zara chattering about her imaginary friend Luna, who apparently lives in the clouds and has a pet dragon. 12 minutes of Nia pretending their neighborhood is safe, that the broken streetlights and boarded-up windows are just temporary inconveniences. Will you pick me up early today? Zara asks as they reach the daycare steps. I wish I could, baby. But Mommy has to work. 2 jobs. Sometimes 3 when she can find weekend catering gigs. And still, it's never enough. After dropping off Zara, Nia heads to her first job at Morrison's Hardware. 8 hours of lifting boxes, dealing with customers who treat her like she's invisible, and pretending her back doesn't ache from sleeping on a mattress that's more springs than padding. But here's what kills her. She's grateful. Grateful for jobs that barely pay minimum wage. Grateful for a boss who doesn't ask too many questions when she leaves early for emergencies. Grateful for small mercies in a world that seems determined to break her. By evening, exhaustion sits in her bones like an old friend. The rain starts just as Nia's shift at Morrison's Hardware ends. Not a gentle drizzle, the kind of October downpour that soaks through jackets and turns sidewalks into rivers. She stands under the store's awning, watching water cascade off the roof like a waterfall, and calculates walking time to the diner. 43 minutes, if she hurries. 43 minutes of getting drenched because gas money went to groceries. But Zara needs those groceries more than Nia needs dry clothes. She pulls her hood up and steps into the storm. 3 blocks from Morrison's, she spots him again. The same man from her mental snapshot this morning, baseball cap, weathered face, that strange, educated voice that didn't match his cardboard sign. But now he's huddled under the Burnside Bridge overpass, trying to shield himself from rain that's finding every gap in his torn jacket. Nia should keep walking. She's already late, already soaked, already stretched thinner than tissue paper. She should mind her own business and focus on surviving her own problems. Instead, she stops. Excuse me, she calls over the rain's roar. He looks up, and again there's that flicker of something in his eyes. Recognition? Surprise? She can't tell. You okay? It's a stupid question. Obviously he's not okay. But what else do you say to someone living under a bridge in a storm? Been better, he admits, and there's that voice again. Refined. Like he should be discussing wine selections, not asking for spare change. Nia steps closer, close enough to see he's shivering. His lips have a blue tint that makes her stomach twist with recognition. She's felt that cold. The bone-deep chill that comes from choosing between heat and food. What's your name? She asks. Eli. He pauses. Eli Chen. I'm Nia. This is probably crazy, but she reaches into her purse and pulls out her emergency $5 bill. The one earmarked for gas to get to work tonight. The one that represents 4 miles of walking in freezing rain. But looking at Eli, soaked and shaking, she can't keep it. I know it's not much, she says, pressing the damp bill into his palm. But maybe you can get coffee somewhere warm? Eli stares at the money like it's made of gold instead of paper. You don't have to. Yes, I do. The words surprise her with their certainty. We all have to. That night, after walking 4 miles in the storm and serving coffee to customers who tip in loose change, Nia trudges home to find Zara awake past bedtime, drawing pictures at their tiny kitchen table. Mommy, you're all wet. Zara jumps up, concerned in that way children get when their parents look fragile. Just rain, baby. What are you drawing? Zara holds up her artwork, stick figures under what might be a bridge. This is the sad man we saw. Why doesn't he have a house? How do you explain homelessness to a 3-year-old? How do you explain that sometimes good people fall through cracks, that sometimes the world forgets about human beings? Some people don't have houses, sweetheart. That's why we help when we can. Like giving him money? Like giving him money. Zara nods seriously, processing this grown-up concept. Are we poor too, Mommy? The question hits like a physical blow. Nia sinks into the chair beside her daughter, exhaustion and honesty warring in her chest. We don't have much money, she says carefully, but we have each other, and we have enough. It's a lie and a truth at the same time. They don't have enough, not for rent, not for groceries, not for the basic security every child deserves. But they have love that fills empty bellies and hope that warms cold nights. Can we help the sad man again? Zara asks. Looking at her daughter's earnest face, Nia makes a decision that will change everything. Yes, baby. We can. The next evening, Nia packs 2 peanut butter sandwiches instead of 1. It's not much, generic bread, store-brand peanut butter, no jelly, but it's what she can spare. Zara insists on adding her favorite teddy bear to the bag, a threadbare pink elephant named Rosie that's been her constant companion since infancy. For the sad man, Zara announces, so he won't be lonely. They find Eli in the same spot under the bridge, but tonight he's different. Cleaner somehow, though his clothes are still worn. When he sees them approaching, something shifts in his expression, surprise mixing with what looks almost like relief. Hi, Nia says, suddenly feeling awkward. What's the protocol for befriending someone experiencing homelessness? We brought sandwiches. And Rosie, Zara pipes up, holding out her beloved elephant. She gives good hugs. Eli's face transforms. The careful mask he's been wearing cracks, revealing genuine emotion underneath. I can't take your elephant, little one. She belongs with you. But you need hugs more than me. Mommy gives me lots of hugs. The simple wisdom of childhood. Nia watches this exchange, noting how Eli crouches to Zara's level, how gentle his voice becomes when he speaks to her daughter. What if Rosie visits me tonight and goes home with you tomorrow, he suggests. That way we both get hugs. Zara considers this seriously, then nods. Okay, but you have to tell her a bedtime story. Deal. As they share sandwiches under the bridge, an unlikely trio huddled against the evening chill, Eli begins to talk. Really talk. About books he's reading at the library. About the way morning light hits the river. About philosophy and art and ideas that seem too sophisticated for someone living on the streets. You're educated, Nia observes. It's not a question. Eli pauses mid-bite. Stanford, actually. MBA in business, bachelor's in economics. The admission hangs between them like a challenge. Nia wants to ask the obvious questions. How does someone go from Stanford MBA to sleeping under bridges? What happened? Where's your family? But she doesn't. She's learned that everyone has stories they're not ready to tell. The sandwiches are really good, Eli says, changing the subject. Mommy makes the best sandwiches in the whole world, Zara declares loyally. For 20 minutes, they exist in this strange bubble of normalcy. A mother, daughter, and homeless man sharing dinner like old friends. Zara chatters about daycare and her imaginary friend Luna. Eli listens with the kind of attention most adults don't give children. When it's time to leave, Rosie stays behind as promised. Walking home, Zara slips her hand into Nia's. I like Eli, Mommy. He has kind eyes. Kind eyes. Trust a child to see past appearances to something essential. Me too, baby. Me too. For 5 days, they return to the bridge. 5 days of shared sandwiches and quiet conversations. 5 days of Zara teaching Eli hand-clapping games, while Nia watches this unlikely friendship bloom. 5 days of feeling less alone in a world that usually feels determined to crush hope. But on the 6th day, Eli is gone. Not just absent, completely vanished. No sleeping bag, no cardboard sign, no trace that he ever existed except for Rosie, sitting alone against the concrete pillar like a pink sentinel. Where is he, Mommy? Zara asks, clutching her returned elephant. Nia scans the area, hoping to spot Eli's familiar figure somewhere nearby. Maybe he found shelter. Maybe someone offered him a job. Maybe something good happened for once in this broken world. But deep in her gut, she knows better. People like Eli don't just disappear into happy endings. They disappear because the streets are dangerous, because winter is coming, because life without safety nets is precarious and brutal. I don't know, sweetheart, she admits. Is he okay? The question every parent dreads. The one that forces you to choose between honesty and innocence, between preparing your child for reality and protecting their heart for just a little longer. I hope so, baby. I really hope so. That night, Zara cries for the first time since her father left. Not the dramatic tears of a toddler denied candy, but the quiet, heartbroken sobs of someone who's lost a friend. Nia holds her daughter and feels her own unexpected grief. It's ridiculous. They knew Eli for less than a week. He was a stranger who happened to be kind, nothing more. She shouldn't feel this hollow, this worried, this invested in the well-being of someone she barely knew. But she does. Will we see him again? Zara whispers against Nia's shoulder. I don't know, Nia says, because lying won't help anyone heal. For 3 more days, they check the bridge. 3 days of finding it empty except for other displaced souls who aren't Eli, who don't have his educated voice or kind eyes or the mysterious sadness that made Nia want to help. By the 4th day, even Zara stops asking to visit. Life moves on because it has to. Bills don't pause for missing friends. Rent doesn't care about broken hearts. Nia works her double shifts and pretends the bridge was just a brief, strange chapter in their story, not the beginning of something she can't name. But late at night, when Zara is sleeping and the apartment feels too quiet, Nia finds herself wondering, where did he go? Was he real? Did those conversations under the bridge actually happen? Or did her loneliness create a phantom friend to make the weight of single motherhood feel less crushing? The questions haunt her dreams and follow her through days that suddenly feel grayer, emptier, less hopeful than before. Tuesday morning arrives gray and ordinary, the kind of October day that promises nothing but routine disappointment. Nia drops Zara at Sunshine Daycare, exchanges the usual pleasantries with Mrs. Patterson about pickup times and snack money, and heads to Morrison's Hardware for another 8-hour shift of pretending her life isn't slowly unraveling. But at 3:47 p.m., her phone buzzes with a call that changes everything. Ms. Rodriguez? This is Mrs. Patterson from Sunshine Daycare. Nia's blood turns to ice. Daycare only calls for emergencies, accidents, illness, or the dreaded conversation about overdue payments. Is Zara okay? She's fine, but there's a situation. Could you come in early today? Nia glances at the clock. Her shift doesn't end for 2 hours, but she's used up all her emergency leave dealing with Zara's stomach bug last month. What kind of situation? It's better if we discuss this in person. How soon can you be here? The drive to Sunshine Daycare feels eternal, though it's only 12 minutes through afternoon traffic. Nia's mind cycles through worst-case scenarios: injury, behavioral problems, a complaint from another parent. When you're barely keeping your head above water, every phone call feels like the wave that might finally drown you. She finds Mrs. Patterson waiting by the front desk, wearing an expression that's part confusion, part concern, and something else Nia can't identify. "Where's Zara?" Nia asks immediately. "She's in the play area. Perfectly safe," Mrs. Patterson assures her. "But Ms. Rodriguez, we need to talk about what happened at pickup today." "Pickup isn't for another hour." "That's the thing." Mrs. Patterson glances toward the window. "There's been a man outside for the past 20 minutes. Expensive car, nice clothes. He keeps asking about Zara, specifically." Nia's heart stops. "What kind of man?" "Well-dressed. Asian. Probably mid-30s. He says he knows you, but he won't give his full name. Just says to tell you Eli is here." The name hits like lightning. Eli. But not the Eli she knew. The homeless man with worn clothes and educated speech who vanished from under the bridge. This description sounds like someone else entirely. "Did you let him near her?" Nia's voice comes out sharper than intended. "Of course not. We don't release children to anyone not on the authorized list." "But Ms. Rodriguez." Mrs. Patterson pauses. "The car he's driving? It's a Mercedes. Brand new. And he offered to pay Zara's tuition balance in full." The world tilts sideways. Tuition balance. As in the $2,400 they owe for 3 months of late payments. As in the amount that's been keeping Nia awake at night, the sword hanging over their small family's head. "Show me," Nia whispers. They walk to the window overlooking the pickup area. And there it is, a black Mercedes S-Class, pristine and gleaming, completely out of place in their working-class neighborhood. And leaning against it, wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than Nia makes in 6 months, is a face she recognizes. Eli. Same weathered hands, same careful posture, same eyes that hold secrets she couldn't name. But everything else has transformed. His hair is styled, his skin clean, his clothes screaming wealth and privilege. This isn't possible. The homeless man who shared sandwiches with her daughter, who slept under bridges and carried everything he owned in a torn backpack, is standing beside a luxury car like he owns the world. "That's him," she breathes. "You do know him then?" Know him? She thought she did. She thought he was someone like her, struggling, displaced, forgotten by a system that chews up good people and spits out statistics. But looking at him now, one question burns through her shock. Who the hell is Eli Chun? Nia pushes through the daycare's front door like she's walking into battle. The autumn air hits her face, crisp and sharp, but nothing compared to the chill that runs down her spine when she sees him up close. This isn't the man who shared sandwiches under a bridge. This is someone else entirely. Someone who belongs in boardrooms and country clubs, not homeless shelters. Nia. His voice is the same, but everything else screams deception. What the hell is going on? The words come out louder than she intended, drawing stares from other parents in the pickup line. Eli, or whoever he really is, glances around at their growing audience. Can we talk somewhere private? Private. Nia's voice climbs higher. You show up at my daughter's school in a car that costs more than I'll make in 5 years, and you want privacy? Please. Let me explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to us. How you made my 3-year-old care about you when you were just, what, slumming it for fun. The words hit their target. She watches him flinch, sees genuine pain flash across his features. It wasn't like that, he says quietly. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like some rich guy decided to play homeless person and got bored when the game wasn't fun anymore. A long pause. Parents are definitely staring now. Phones probably recording. Great. Tomorrow she'll be the crazy single mom who screamed at a stranger in designer clothes. My name isn't Eli Chun, he says finally. It's Elias Grant. The name hits her like a physical blow. Even someone who doesn't read business magazines knows that name. Grant Industries. Fortune 500 company. Billionaire tech mogul who started 3 companies before he turned 30. You're lying. I wish I was. He reaches into his jacket, slowly, like he's afraid she might run, and pulls out a leather wallet. His driver's license confirms what she doesn't want to believe. Elias Benjamin Grant. Age 34. Address in Pacific Heights that probably has more square footage than her entire apartment building. Why? The question comes out broken, barely a whisper. Because I was dying, he says. And for the first time since this conversation started, he sounds like the man she knew. Vulnerable. Real. Not physically. But inside. I had everything anyone could want and felt nothing. Empty. Like I was sleepwalking through someone else's life. So you decided to play poor? I decided to find out who I really was when everything got stripped away. The money, the power, the people who only see dollar signs when they look at me. His eyes meet hers. I wanted to know if anyone would care about Eli Chun, the man with nothing. And we were what? Your social experiment. At first. The admission stings, but at least it's honest. But then Zara gave me her teddy bear. Then you gave me your last $5. Then you both gave me something I hadn't felt in years. What? Like I mattered. Not for what I could buy, or build, or invest in. Just for being human. Nia wants to stay angry. Anger is safer than whatever else is stirring in her chest. Hurt, confusion. Something that might be understanding, if she lets it grow. You lied to us. Yes. You made my daughter cry when you disappeared. Yes. You have billions of dollars. And you watched me sacrifice money I couldn't afford because you wanted to feel human. Yes. His voice cracks. And I've hated myself for it every day since I left that bridge. The truth sits between them like shattered glass, sharp, messy, impossible to clean up neatly. But here's what Nia realizes, standing in that daycare parking lot with curious parents pretending not to eavesdrop. Anger isn't the strongest emotion fighting for space in her chest. It's fear. He wasn't who she thought he was, and neither are most people. If you don't want to miss the next twist like this one, subscribe now before we continue. I don't want your money, Nia says before Elias can offer it. They're sitting in his Mercedes now. She agreed to talk only because Zara is safely inside with Mrs. Patterson, and because half the neighborhood has gathered to watch their drama unfold through the daycare windows. You don't even know what I'm offering. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, the answer is no. Elias adjusts his rearview mirror, and she catches him studying her reflection. You're behind on rent. 3 months, according to public records. Heat flashes up her neck. You investigated me? I investigated everyone I met during those 3 months. I had to make sure I wasn't putting anyone in danger. How thoughtful of you to consider our safety after the fact. Nia. No. She turns to face him fully. Anger giving her courage she didn't know she possessed. You don't get to sit in your expensive car and dissect my financial situation like I'm a charity case. I was fine before I met you, and I'll be fine after you leave. Fine. His voice rises slightly. You're working 16-hour days and still can't make ends meet. Zara needs new shoes. Your apartment has a leak in the bedroom ceiling that your landlord refuses to fix. You eat crackers for dinner so she can have real meals. Each fact hits like a slap. Stop. The daycare called you about overdue payments last week. Your car needs brake work you can't afford. You haven't bought yourself new clothes in Stop. She reaches for the door handle, but he hits the locks. Let me help, he says quietly. Why? Guilt. Maybe. Partially. He's quiet for a moment. But mostly because you helped me when you had nothing to give. Because you saw Eli-chan, broke, homeless, desperate, and decided he was worth your last $5. That was different. How? Because Eli-chan needed help. Elias Grant is just a bored billionaire playing games. What if they're the same person? The question hangs between them, heavy with implications she's not ready to explore. They're not, she says firmly. Eli-chan was kind. Real. He listened to Zara's stories and didn't check his phone every 5 seconds. Elias Grant probably has assistants to remind him to be human. You're right about one thing, Elias says. I do have assistants. 17 of them, actually. But none of them ever made me laugh the way Zara did when she tried to teach me that clapping game. Despite herself, Nia feels her anger wavering. Don't what? Don't make me remember why we liked you. Don't make this about Zara. Everything is about Zara. She's why you work 3 jobs. She's why you gave away money you needed. She's why you're scared of accepting help. Because admitting you need it feels like admitting you're failing her. The words cut deep because they're true. Get out of my life, she whispers. But Elias Grant doesn't get out of her life. 3 days after their confrontation at the daycare, Nia gets a call that changes everything. Ms. Rodriguez? This is Patricia Vance from Meridian Property Management. I'm calling about your rent situation. Nia's stomach drops. This is it, the eviction notice she's been dreading, the conversation that will make Zara homeless before her 4th birthday. I understand I'm behind, she begins, already calculating which relatives might take them in, which shelters have family rooms, which... Actually, there's been a development. Your account shows a payment of $3,600, bringing you current through December. The words don't compute. That's impossible. The payment came through this morning. Cashier's check. Is there someone who might have made this payment on your behalf? Nia knows exactly who made the payment. The same person she told to get out of her life. The same person she accused of playing games with their emotions. Did they leave a name? Anonymous donor. But there's a note attached to your file. Papers rustle. Tell Nia this isn't charity. It's gratitude. After hanging up, Nia sits in Morrison's hardware break room, staring at her phone like it might explode. 3 months of sleepless nights, solved with the stroke of a pen. 3 months of choosing between electricity and groceries, erased by someone with more money than he knows what to do with. She should feel relieved. Instead, she feels trapped. That evening, while Zara colors at their kitchen table, Nia's phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. There's a job interview tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific Marketing Solutions. They need someone with your experience. No strings attached. He. She stares at the message until the words blur. How does he know her experience? How does he know what job she's qualified for? How long has he been researching her life like she's some kind of project? Mommy, why do you look mad? Zara asks, glancing up from her drawing. I'm not mad, sweetheart. Just thinking. About the sad man? Is he still sad? The sad man. If Zara only knew that the sad man owns buildings taller than the ones they see downtown, that his net worth could solve every financial problem in their neighborhood combined. I don't know if he's sad anymore, Nia says honestly. The next morning, Mrs. Chun from apartment 3B stops her in the hallway. Nia. Dear, did you know there was a man asking about you yesterday? Well-dressed. Expensive car. Wanted to know what kind of neighbor you are, if you're reliable, if little Zara is well-behaved. Nia's blood runs cold. What did you tell him? Only good things, of course. But it was strange. He seemed to know a lot about you already. Almost like he was checking references. Reference checks. Job interviews. Rent payments. Elias Grant isn't helping her. He's managing her life like she's another business acquisition. The job interview goes better than Nia expected. Pacific Marketing Solutions offers her a position with regular hours, health benefits, and a salary that's 30% higher than both her current jobs combined. It's everything she's been hoping for: stability, decent pay, a chance to use her brain instead of just her back. But sitting across from the hiring manager, all she can think about is whether this opportunity is real or manufactured. "When can you start?" the manager asks. "Monday," Nia says, because saying no to a good job would be stupid, regardless of how she got the interview. That evening, she takes Zara to the bridge. Not because she expects to find Elias there. She knows he's probably in his penthouse or corner office, moving money around like chess pieces. But because Zara has been asking about Eli every day for 2 weeks, and some conversations require neutral ground. They're sitting on the concrete steps when he appears. Not in the Mercedes this time. He's walking, wearing jeans and a simple gray sweater that probably still costs more than her monthly grocery budget, but at least he's trying to look normal. "Elias," she says when he's close enough to hear. "Still Eli to me," Zara announces, jumping up to hug his legs with the uncomplicated affection only children possess. Watching them together, this billionaire CEO crouching down to examine Zara's latest drawing, listening with genuine attention as she explains why flowers should have faces. Nia feels the last of her anger cracking. "Thank you," she says quietly while Zara chatters about daycare drama. "For the rent. For the job. You got it on your own merit," he says without looking away from Zara's artwork. "I just made sure they knew you were available. That's not how it works, and you know it. Maybe not. But you still had to ace the interview. You still had to convince them you're the right person for the position." He finally looks at her. "Which you are. How would you know?" "Because I've watched you manage impossible situations for months. Because you're resourceful and determined, and you don't give up when things get hard." His voice softens. "Because you're raising an incredible daughter on your own while working jobs that should have broken your spirit years ago." The compliments feel dangerous. Nia has spent so long being angry at the world, at circumstances, at men who make promises they don't keep, that she's forgotten how to accept praise without waiting for the catch. "What do you want from us?" she asks. "Nothing. Billionaires don't do nothing. There's always an angle." "Maybe." He's quiet for a moment, watching Zara arrange leaves into patterns. "Or maybe sometimes a $5 bill from someone who has nothing teaches you more about generosity than anything you learn in business school. So this is what? A learning experience for you. This is me trying to figure out how to be human again," he says simply, "and wondering if 2 people I care about might let me stick around long enough to get it right." The words hit harder than anger, deeper than resentment. Because despite everything, the lies, the manipulation, the game playing, she's starting to realize she wants him to stick around too. 3 weeks into her new job at Pacific Marketing Solutions, Nia realizes that good news travels fast, but gossip travels faster. It starts small. Sideways glances in the break room. Conversations that stop when she walks by. The kind of workplace tension that makes your skin crawl, but you can't quite pinpoint why. Then Madison from accounting corners her by the coffee machine. "So," Madison says, stirring sugar into her latte with deliberate slowness, "interesting how you landed this position." "What do you mean?" Nia asks, though she has a sinking feeling she already knows. "Well, it's just unusual for someone to get hired so quickly, especially when they skip the usual interview process." Madison's smile is sharp as a blade. "Makes people wonder about connections, you know? The implication hits like ice water. I went through the same interview process as everyone else." "Of course you did," Madison agrees, but her tone suggests otherwise. "It's just, well, some of us have been here for years without the kind of opportunities that seem to fall into certain people's laps." That afternoon, Nia catches fragments of whispered conversations that stop the moment she appears. By Friday, she's eating lunch alone in her car because the break room feels like enemy territory. But the real blow comes Monday morning when her supervisor, Kent, calls her into his office. Nia, we need to discuss some concerns that have been brought to my attention. Her heart sinks. What kind of concerns? There are rumors about how you secured this position, about outside influence from wealthy benefactors. Kent looks uncomfortable, like he's reading from a script. Corporate is asking questions about our hiring practices. I earned this job, Nia says, but even to her own ears, the words sound defensive. I believe that. Your work has been excellent. But perception matters in business. And right now the perception is that Pacific Marketing Solutions can be bought. The meeting ends with a warning disguised as advice. Be careful about appearances. Avoid any situation that might fuel speculation. Keep your personal life separate from professional responsibilities. Walking back to her desk, Nia feels eyes following her like laser dots. Every whispered conversation feels aimed at her. Every laugh might be at her expense. The worst part? Some of their suspicions are true. She did get this job because of Elias Grant. Not directly, but his money opened doors that would have stayed locked otherwise. The fact that she's qualified doesn't matter if people think she bought her way in. That evening, as she picks up Zara from daycare, Mrs. Patterson pulls her aside. Nia, dear, I wanted to give you a heads up. There was a reporter here today asking questions about you and Zara. A reporter? Woman with a camera. Wanted to know about your relationship with someone named Elias Grant. I told her we don't discuss our families with strangers, but Mrs. Patterson looks worried. She seemed to already know quite a bit. The drive home feels like traveling through quicksand. How did reporters find out? How long before Zara's innocent world gets invaded by cameras and questions she shouldn't have to answer? That night, after putting Zara to bed, Nia sits at her kitchen table, staring at her phone. Elias's number is saved under E. When did that happen? When did a stranger become someone she could call? But what would she say? That his help is destroying her life? That his money comes with a price she can't afford to pay? Outside her window, a car with tinted windows sits across the street, engine running. They're already watching. The headlines hit like a coordinated attack on a Tuesday morning that starts normal and ends in flames. Nia first sees them at the grocery store checkout line, waiting behind an elderly man counting exact change for his prescription medications. The magazine rack screams at her in bold letters. Billionaire's secret charity case. Grant Industries CEO's homeless disguise exposed. Single MOM or gold digger? Her photo stares back from 3 different tabloid covers. Grainy shots taken with telephoto lenses, catching her at her worst moments. Leaving work with tired eyes. Walking Zara to daycare in yesterday's clothes. Looking exactly like what she is, a struggling single mother who never asked to be anyone's story. But it's the photo on the 3rd magazine that makes her legs give out. Zara, her 3-year-old daughter, face clearly visible, captured mid-laugh as she runs toward the daycare entrance. The headline reads, "The child that changed everything." Inside Grant's $3 million makeover of his poor family. $3 million. They're claiming he spent $3 million on her. Ma'am, you okay? The cashier looks concerned as Nia grips the magazine rack for support. Fine, she whispers, but nothing is fine. Nothing will ever be fine again. By the time she gets to work, the damage is complete. Kent meets her at the elevator, his face grim. We need to talk. Now. The conference room feels like a courtroom. Kent sits across from her with HR representatives she's never seen before, all wearing expressions that scream damage control. The company can't be associated with this kind of publicity. Kent begins without preamble. Whatever your relationship with Elias Grant. There is no relationship, Nia interrupts. The media seems to think otherwise. Photos of you together, records of financial transactions, testimonials from neighbors describing expensive cars in your neighborhood. He slides a folder across the table. This paints a picture we can't ignore. Inside the folder, Bank records she never authorized anyone to see. Phone records showing calls from Elias's office. Grocery receipts from stores she's never shopped at, suggesting she's living beyond her means with mysterious funding. Someone's been investigating me, she realizes. Corporate hired a private firm to verify the rumors. What they found. Kent pauses. We're going to need your resignation. You're firing me because of gossip? We're protecting the company from a scandal that could damage client relationships. This is business, not personal. But it feels personal when she cleans out her desk while coworkers avoid eye contact. It feels personal when security escorts her to the parking lot like she's a criminal. It feels personal when she calls the daycare and Mrs. Patterson's voice goes cold. Ms. Rodriguez, we need to discuss Zara's enrollment. Some parents have expressed concerns about the media attention affecting other children. The final blow comes at pickup time. Zara runs toward her as usual, but something's wrong. Her daughter's eyes are red from crying, her favorite dress is dirty, and there's a scratch on her cheek. What happened, baby? The big kids said you're a bad mommy, Zara whispers. They said you take money from strangers, and that makes you a bad person. Is that true, Mommy? Are you bad? The question breaks something in Nia's chest that was already cracked from a day of watching her life implode. No, sweetheart. I'm not bad. Some people they don't understand. But walking to their car under the stares of other parents, Nia wonders if maybe the big kids are right. That night, after Zara finally falls asleep clutching Rosie and asking why people are mean, Nia sits on her bathroom floor and cries until there's nothing left. Not quiet, dignified tears. The ugly, broken sobs of someone whose life has shattered in ways she didn't know were possible. The kind of crying that leaves you hollow and raw, and wondering how you'll find the strength to wake up tomorrow. Her phone buzzes with text after text. Saw the news. You okay? Tara from her old job. Girl, what's really going on? Her sister in Phoenix. Is any of it true? A number she doesn't recognize. 23 messages. Some supportive, most curious, a few downright cruel. She deletes them all without responding. The worst part isn't the public humiliation or losing her job. It's the look in Zara's eyes when those children called her a bad mommy. It's knowing that her daughter's innocence got destroyed because Nia was foolish enough to believe someone like Elias Grant could care about people like them without ulterior motives. She should have known better. Rich men don't befriend single mothers out of kindness. They collect them like trophies, charity cases to make themselves feel noble and generous. And now Zara is paying a price. At 2 a.m., she makes the decision that's been building all day. She dials his number, not caring if she wakes him up. Nia. His voice is immediately alert, concerned. Are you? Stay away from us. The words come out steadier than she feels. What? You heard me. Stay away from my daughter. Stay away from me. We're done. The headlines I can explain. Explain what? That you've been having us investigated? That someone leaked our personal information to tabloids? That my 3-year-old daughter is now a target for photographers. Silence on his end. Telling silence. You knew this would happen, she continues, fury giving her strength. You knew that being associated with you would turn our lives into a circus, and you did it anyway. Because what's the collateral damage of a few poor people when Elias Grant wants to feel human again? That's not. It is exactly that. You used us. Maybe not intentionally at first, but the result is the same. My daughter is suffering because of your selfish need to play charity case with real people's lives. Nia, please. I lost my job today. Zara got bullied at school. We can't go anywhere without people staring and whispering. All because you decided we were interesting enough to fix. Her voice breaks on the last word, and she hates that he can hear her weakness. Let me help, he says quietly. I can make this right. Your help is what got us into this mess. Your help comes with a price I can't afford to pay. So no. No more help. No more contact. No more Eli or Elias or whatever version of yourself you want to be this week. What about Zara? She cares about. Zara will forget. Children are resilient. But she can't forget if you keep showing up, reminding her of why other kids call her mommy names she doesn't understand. The truth of it hits like a physical blow. For Zara's sake, this has to end. Don't call. Don't text. Don't send money or jobs or any other kind of help. Just let us disappear back into the life we had before you decided we needed saving. She hangs up before he can respond. Nia thought this was the end, but it wasn't. Subscribe so you don't walk away before the truth is revealed. 24 hours after Nia cuts him out of her life, Elias Grant does something he's never done before. He calls a press conference, not through publicists or corporate communications teams. He personally contacts every major news outlet in the Pacific Northwest and delivers a simple message. I have something to say about the Rodriguez family. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Grant Industries headquarters. Come prepared for the truth. The conference room fills with reporters expecting damage control or legal maneuvering. What they get instead is a billionaire who looks like he hasn't slept in weeks, standing behind a podium without notes or prepared statements. My name is Elias Grant, he begins, and the room goes silent. 3 months ago, I made a decision that some would call crazy. I gave up my penthouse, my credit cards, my entire identity, and I lived on the streets of Portland as a homeless man named Eli Chun. Camera flashes explode. Reporters lean forward. This isn't the story they expected. I did it because I was empty. Despite having more money than I could spend in 5 lifetimes, I felt nothing. No purpose, no connection, no reason to wake up each morning beyond habit. He pauses, scanning the room of journalists who make their living destroying people like him. Then I met Nia Rodriguez and her daughter Zara, a single mother working multiple jobs, struggling to keep her head above water, who gave me her last $5 because she thought I needed it more than she did. The room is so quiet you could hear heartbeats. Let me be clear about something the tabloids got wrong. Nia Rodriguez didn't know who I was. She never asked for money, never requested help, never tried to benefit from any relationship with me. When she found out my real identity, she told me to get out of her life. When I helped with her rent and job search, she was angry that I'd interfered. A reporter raises her hand. Mr. Grant, are you saying? I'm saying that Nia Rodriguez is the most honest person I've ever met. She's a devoted mother, a hard worker, and someone who shows kindness to strangers even when she can barely afford groceries for her own child. The media has painted her as a gold digger, but the truth is she gold dug herself right out of any association with me. Another reporter calls out, what about the $3 million in aid you allegedly? I never gave Nia Rodriguez $3 million. I paid 3 months of her rent, $3,600, and helped her get a job interview. That's it. The only reason those numbers are public is because someone violated banking privacy laws to create a story that doesn't exist. Elias steps closer to the microphone, and when he speaks again, his voice carries a weight that silences the room. Nia Rodriguez asked me for exactly nothing, but I'm going to give her something anyway. I'm going to give her the truth. She is not a charity case. She is not a gold digger. She is not a story for your entertainment. She is a woman who showed compassion to a stranger and got punished for it. He looks directly into the cameras. The only person who should be ashamed in this situation is me, for letting an innocent child become a target, for staying silent while lies destroyed a good woman's reputation, for being too much of a coward to stand up and tell the truth until now. The press conference ends with questions shouted at his retreating figure. But the damage to his reputation, his privacy, his carefully constructed billionaire mystique is already done. And for the first time in months, Elias Grant doesn't care. 48 hours after the press conference that sent shockwaves through every major news network, Elias Grant walks into his lawyer's office and makes a decision that will either save everything or destroy it completely. You want to do what? Harold Kessler, senior partner at Kessler & Associates, stares at his client like he's announced plans to set money on fire. 10% of my Grant Industries shares. Transferred into an irrevocable trust for Zara Rodriguez, accessible when she turns 18. Elias slides the paperwork across Harold's mahogany desk. I've already had the documents drawn up. Harold's face goes pale. Elias, that's approximately $230 million. You're talking about giving $250 million to a child you've known for less than 6 months. I'm talking about securing the future of someone who deserves better than the hand she's been dealt. Her mother will never accept this. You said yourself she wants nothing to do with your money. She doesn't have to accept it. The trust is sealed until Zara's 18th birthday. Nia never has to know it exists. Elias leans back in his chair, and for the first time in weeks, he looks certain about something. But when Zara turns 18, she'll have choices her mother never had. College, travel, starting her own business, helping other people, whatever she wants. Harold shakes his head. This is insane. Your board will fight you. Your investors will panic. The media will have a field day with the story of a billionaire leaving his fortune to a random child. Let them. I've spent my entire adult life making money for other people. For once, I want to do something that actually matters. And if the mother finds out, if she thinks you're trying to buy your way back into their lives. The question hits its target. Elias has been asking himself the same thing for 2 days. Is this genuine altruism or the ultimate manipulation? A way to stay connected to the only people who ever made him feel human? Maybe both, he admits. But that doesn't make it wrong. Harold sighs the deep sigh of a lawyer watching his client make an expensive mistake. There's something else you should know. Since your press conference, Grant Industries stock has dropped 12%. The board is talking about a vote of no confidence. Good. Maybe it's time for someone else to run the company. Someone who actually cares about quarterly profits and market share and all the things I used to think mattered. Elias signs the trust documents with a Mont Blanc pen that cost more than most people make in a week. Each signature feels like shedding weight he didn't know he was carrying. There's one more thing, he tells Harold. I want you to hire private security for the Rodriguez family. Discreet, they should never know it exists. But with all this media attention, they need protection. How long? Until the story dies down. Could be weeks, could be months. Elias stands to leave. However long it takes for people to find someone else to obsess over. Walking out of a law office, Elias checks his phone for the first time in hours. 73 missed calls from reporters, board members, investors, and relatives he hasn't spoken to in years. Everyone wants to know why a rational businessman just gave away a fortune to a child whose mother won't even take his calls. The answer is simpler than they think and more complicated than he can explain. 3 months ago, a woman gave him $5 she couldn't afford to lose. Today, he's giving her daughter $230 million she'll never know she has. Some people might call it crazy. Elias calls it gratitude. But as he drives through downtown Portland, past the bridge where this all started, one question haunts him. When Zara turns 18 and discovers she's wealthy beyond imagination, will she understand it as a gift? Or will she see it as the ultimate violation of her mother's wishes, a way to control her future from beyond the grave of their broken friendship? The story explodes across every platform within hours. #Billionaire Gamble Trends on Twitter. CNN runs a special segment called Grant's Gift. Generosity or manipulation? Fox News debates whether giving money to children sets a dangerous precedent for American capitalism. But it's the personal attacks that cut deepest. Nia discovers the latest wave of coverage while hiding in the Portland Public Library, one of the few places photographers haven't found her yet. She's scrolling through job listings on a public computer when a news alert pops up. Breaking. Elias Grant establishes $230 million trust fund for child at center of homeless scandal. Her hands freeze over the keyboard. $230 million. For Zara, her 3-year-old daughter, who still thinks $5 is enough money to buy a pony, now has a trust fund larger than some countries' national budgets. The comments section below the article makes her stomach turn. This proves she was after his money all along. Smart kid, cute mom, billionaire wrapped around their finger. He's buying them. This isn't charity, it's ownership. That little girl hit the lottery because her mom knew how to play a homeless billionaire. But then she sees the other side. Finally, a wealthy person doing something decent with their money. This child will never have to worry about rent or food or medical bills. Grant's giving her the opportunities her mother never had. Sometimes the best gift is security. The divide is staggering. Half the world sees Elias as a hero. The other half sees him as either a fool or a predator. And somehow, Nia and Zara are trapped in the middle, representing whatever narrative people want to project onto their story. That evening, Tara from her old job calls with an update that makes everything worse. Girl, you need to know what people are saying at Morrison's. I don't want to know. Yes, you do. Because some of it's good. Really good. Tara's voice carries excitement. Mrs. Patterson from the hardware store? She's been telling everyone how you used to help customers find exactly what they needed, even when you were dead tired from working double shifts. And remember that elderly man whose grandson you helped fix his wheelchair? He wrote a letter to the Portland Tribune defending you. What kind of letter? Called you the kind of person who restores faith in human decency. Said anyone attacking you obviously never met you. Tara pauses. But Nia, there's something else. Channel 12 wants to interview you. They're offering $15,000 for an exclusive. $15,000. Enough to cover rent for a year, buy Zara new clothes, maybe even put some money aside for emergencies. All she has to do is sit in front of cameras and explain her relationship with a billionaire to people who've already decided what they think. I can't, she whispers. Why not? It's your chance to tell your side of the story. Because there shouldn't be sides. There should just be a single mom and her daughter living their lives without the world watching and judging every decision. After hanging up, Nia sits in her dark apartment listening to Zara sleep. Outside, a news van idles across the street, waiting for something interesting to happen. $230 million. The number sits in her mind like a bomb waiting to explode. Part of her is grateful. Zara will never struggle the way she has. But another part feels violated. Like Elias just made the biggest decision of her daughter's life without asking permission. 3 weeks into what the media calls the Grant controversy, Nia makes a decision that breaks her heart. She packs 2 suitcases, loads everything they own into her Honda, and drives Zara to her sister Carmen's house in Phoenix. Why are we going on vacation, Mommy? Zara asks from her car seat as Portland disappears in the rearview mirror. Because sometimes people need a break from their regular life, Nia says, which is both true and completely inadequate. Carmen's house in Tempe is everything Nia's Portland apartment wasn't: spacious, clean, in a neighborhood where children play outside without their mothers watching for danger. Carmen works as a nurse practitioner, owns her home, has a retirement fund and health insurance, and all the stability that feels impossible to Nia. You can stay as long as you need, Carmen says, helping carry suitcases into the guest room. But eventually, you'll have to deal with this. Deal with what? I didn't ask for any of this. No, but it happened anyway. And running away won't make that little girl's trust fund disappear. Carmen's right. But being right doesn't make the situation less overwhelming. For the first week, Phoenix feels like sanctuary. No reporters, no photographers, no neighbors whispering about billionaires and bad mothers. Zara loves her Aunt Carmen, plays with her cousins, seems to forget about Portland and all its complications. But on day 8, something changes. Nia finds Zara sitting alone in the backyard, crying quietly while she holds Rosie. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "I miss Eli," Zara whispers. "Why can't we see him anymore?" The question Nia has been dreading. How do you explain adult complications to someone who thinks the world should be simple and fair? "Remember how people were saying mean things about Mommy and you?" Zara nods. "Well, those people were upset because Eli helped us. So to make them stop being mean, we can't see Eli anymore." "But Eli is nice. Why do people get mad when nice people help?" From the mouths of babes. Zara has identified the central insanity of their situation in one innocent question. "I don't know, baby. Sometimes grown-ups are complicated. Can we call him? Just to say hi." "No, sweetheart. We can't." That night, Carmen finds Nia crying on the back porch. She asks about him every day, Nia admits. She doesn't understand why her friend just disappeared from her life again. "Maybe because you haven't explained it properly." How do I explain that her friend is so wealthy and famous that knowing us puts us in danger? That people take pictures of children and write horrible things about their mothers? That sometimes caring about someone means staying away from them? Carmen sits beside her sister. Or maybe you explain that sometimes people we care about make choices we don't understand, but that doesn't mean they don't love us. The suggestion hangs in the desert air like a challenge. Because the truth Nia won't admit, even to herself, is that she misses him too. 2 months after the media storm began, Elias Grant returns to the bridge where it all started. Not as a homeless man this time. That experiment ended the day Nia told him to get out of her life. He comes as himself, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, carrying nothing but the weight of decisions that changed everything. The bridge looks different in December. Colder, lonelier, populated by different faces seeking the same warmth he once needed. He recognizes the hunger in their eyes, the careful way they arrange cardboard against concrete, the dignity they maintain despite circumstances that strip dignity away. He's brought something with him, a check made out to Portland Family Services for $2 million. Not for publicity or tax benefits, or to make himself feel better about the mess he created, but because understanding homelessness means taking responsibility for it. After delivering the check, he drives to the old neighborhood. Nia's apartment is empty, windows dark, a for rent sign taped to the door. The Honda that barely ran is gone. They've disappeared as completely as he once did, but their reasons are opposite. He ran toward something. They ran away from it. Standing on the sidewalk where Zara once drew chalk flowers, Elias feels the full weight of unintended consequences. Every decision he made to help them ultimately hurt them. Every gesture of generosity became a burden they couldn't carry. Maybe that's the real lesson he was supposed to learn during those 3 months on the streets. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is leave them alone. He gets back in his car and drives toward a future that feels emptier than the one he tried to escape by living under bridges. Behind him, the Portland skyline glitters with lights from offices where people work late into the night, chasing success that might leave them as hollow as he once was. Some lessons, apparently, take more than 3 months to learn. The nights in Phoenix were supposed to be quiet, yet Nia found no rest. She sat on the edge of her bed, watching Zara sleep peacefully, while her own heart carried storm. The television was muted, but headlines flashed across the screen. Billionaire risks fortune for a maid and her child. Elias Kane's empire shaken by scandal. Nia closed her eyes. She had told herself this distance was for Zara's safety, that cutting ties was the only way to silence the whispers. Yet every report of Elias losing investors, every photograph of him walking into board meetings with his shoulders heavy, gnawed at her conscience. Her sister's words echoed. He chose this path, Nia. Don't carry the weight of his choices. But how could she not? Elias hadn't just sacrificed his reputation. He had staked his entire future. And why? Not for glory, not for pity, but for them. Fear whispered that opening the door again would destroy what little peace she had left. Hope argued that maybe, just maybe, the man she pushed away had already proven himself worthy. Nia pulled the blanket up to Zara's chin, brushing back a loose curl from her forehead. "What do I tell her when she asks again?" she murmured into the silence. Because the truth was undeniable. The man she ran from had already carved his place in her daughter's heart. And whether she liked it or not, that bond would never vanish. Would you forgive a man who risked everything for you, even if the world believed you didn't deserve it? Morning sunlight spilled into the kitchen as Nia prepared a simple breakfast. Zara sat at the table, humming softly, but her eyes were thoughtful, older than her years. "Mom," Zara finally asked, her voice small. Nia turned, forcing a smile. "Yes, sweetheart." Zara hesitated, pushing her spoon around the bowl. "We gave him a chance before, why can't we give him one now?" The words pierced deeper than any headline. Nia froze, caught between her daughter's innocence and her own fear. "Zara," she began carefully, "grown-up choices are complicated. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves." But Zara shook her head. "You always say kindness is never wasted. He was kind to us. Why do we have to throw that away?" Nia's throat tightened. Out of the mouths of children came truths adults spent lifetimes avoiding. She wanted to remind Zara of the gossip, the danger, the scrutiny that came with Elias's presence. But she also remembered Elias kneeling on their kitchen floor, helping Zara with homework, laughing as though nothing else in the world mattered. Zara reached across the table, placing her small hand over Nia's. "I miss him. Not the money, not the cameras. Just him." Nia swallowed hard. The dilemma she had wrestled with in silence was now given a voice. Her daughter's voice. Pure, uncomplicated, and impossible to ignore. In that moment, Nia realized the decision was no longer hers alone. If your child begged you to reopen a door you swore shut, would you risk it? Or would you protect them from a love that could break you both? The knock came on a quiet Sunday evening. Slow, steady, almost cautious. Nia froze, her hands tightening around the dish towel. She wasn't expecting anyone. For a moment, she told herself it was a neighbor, or maybe her sister returning early. But in her heart, she already knew. Zara darted from the living room, eyes bright. "Mom." "It's him, isn't it?" she whispered, her excitement betraying the innocence only a child could carry. Nia's chest ached. Every instinct screamed at her to protect, to shield, to keep the fragile peace they had built in Phoenix. Yet another part of her, quieter, buried but persistent, longed to see the man who had risked his empire for them. The knock came again, this time softer, almost like a question. Nia's pulse hammered as she moved toward the door. Memories flashed in sharp fragments. Elias on that bridge, Elias in the kitchen laughing with Zara, Elias in front of reporters, tearing down his own armor to defend her name. Every image warred with the fear of judgment, of another heartbreak, of a life ripped open all over again. She reached for the handle, her breath shallow, her hand trembling. Behind her, Zara whispered the words that tipped the balance. "Please, Mom." The door stood between past and future, between ruin and redemption, between safety and love. Her fingers curled around the knob. Slowly she turned, and the story ended there. Would you open the door or walk away? Comment your answer, and subscribe before the next story makes you question everything you thought you knew about love.